The House will come to order. Today, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Jalea Clark, Malachi Esposito, Kumbai Gelato, Landon Roberts, Lana Hassan from Black History Alliance East High School.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Mr. Schiebel, please call the roll.
Representatives Bacon. Barone. Basenecker. Bottoms. Bradfield. Bradley. Brooks. Brown. Caldwell. Camacho. Carter. Clifford. Representative Clifford. DeGraff. Representative DeGraff. Is excused. Duran. English. Espinoza. Ferre. Flanell. Froelich. Garcia. Garcia Sander. Gilchrist. Goldstein. Gonzalez. Hamrick. Representative Hamrick. Excused. Hartsook. Jackson. Johnson. Joseph. Kelty. Leader. Representative Leader. Excused. Lindsay. Luck. Lukens. Representative Lukens is excused. Mabry. Marshall. Martinez. Morrow. McCormick. Wynn. Pascal. Phillips. Richardson. Ricks. Representative Ricks is excused. Rootnell. Ryden. Sirota. Representative Sirota is excused. Slaw. Smith. Soper. Stewart K. Stewart R. Story. Sukla. Taggart. Titone. Valdez A. Velasco. Representative Velasco. She's not in her chair. Is excused. Weinberg. Present. Wilford. It's okay. Winter. Woodrow. Woog. Zokai. And Madam Speaker.
Here. With 59 present and 6 excused, we do have a quorum. Representative Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday to you, too.
Madam Speaker, I move that the Journal of Friday, January 30th, 2026 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Ooh, that was anemic. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it, the motion is adopted. Members, it is a magical first day in February, and we have business to attend to. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the following bills be made special orders on February 2nd, 2026 at 10:19 a.m. House Bill 1068, House Bill 1027, and House Bill 1045.
Seeing no objection, the bills listed by the Majority Leader will be made special orders today, February 2nd at 10:19 a.m. Representative Smith. Thank you. Special order reading of bills. Members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Smith will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen on iLegislate and today's folder on your box account. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the Majority Leader. The coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Sheevel, please read the title of House Bill 1068.
House Bill 1068 by Representatives McCluskey and Duran, also Senators Coleman and Rodriguez, concerning the authority of the Executive Committee of the Legislative Council to establish policies for legislators to participate remotely in meetings of committees consisting of members from both chambers that are held at any time during the year.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
And it is an honor to serve with you.
I move House Bill 1068.
Excuse me. Can everyone be quiet? We have work to do right now. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, today we bring before you House Bill 1068. This is a bill that was supported unanimously by the Executive Committee when we established remote participation policies for both the House and the Senate and interim committees. We failed to specifically identify joint committees that meet during our legislative session. This bill will put into place the authority for the Executive Committee to create remote participation guidance for any of our joint committees. That includes Executive Committee, Joint Budget Committee, and a host of other joint committees that meet during the session. This is not a policy. It simply gives the Executive Committee an opportunity to establish that policy. There is a safety clause on the bill because we have joint committees meeting right now, and we want to make sure we get a policy in place. I want to give a special shout out to our legislative management team who brought this concern to our attention so that we could reconcile and make sure we were very clear on what remote participation guidance would look like. With that, I ask for an aye vote.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just reiterate that remote participation is, something that's really important to have, and the ability to be able to access it because we never know what may come up, in our life that we can't be there in person. So with all that, I will ditto and say, please vote yes. Thank you.
Mr. Minority Leader.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. My name's on this as an early co-sponsor, so I just want to make sure that I let everyone know this. As Speaker had pointed out, this was very bipartisan, and to me, it's government efficiency. And I think maybe the best thing about it is that as a $0 fiscal note, and as Madam Speaker had pointed out, this is something that's going on right now, so safety clause certainly makes sense, and I'll be a yes on this, and I encourage you to be a yes as well. Thank you.
Please, not so loud. Take your conversations to the side. Representative Barone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also come up here in support of this bill. We as a body, we need to be able to have formality on everything that we're doing. Joint committees are, as you know, Senate and House. Senate and House have different rules on remote participation. So I definitely come up here in support of this bill because of that reason, that if we do have that joint participation for Senate and House, that we can have that regulatory ability to remote participate when there are members that are living too far away, especially during the interim, that live too far away. And then during the session, there's so much going on in this building that we usually can't go to some other joint committee and we can remote participate with some of the members. So I urge an aye vote.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard this bill in committee and I voted yes. That said, I asked if the sponsors would consider an amendment. They didn't say no. And so I've altered my initial thought into an actual amendment that I really hope everyone in this chamber can get behind. So with that, I move Amendment L001 to House Bill 1068 and ask that it be displayed.
I only have one copy, sorry. You only have one copy?
Yeah.
Okay. It is displayed to the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we have noted on multiple occasions in this chamber is the better chamber. And so this amendment just solidifies that truth by saying that in the event there is a tie related to what the policy should look like, that the majority of members of the House, that their decision will prevail, meaning we're communicating that our decision should prevail over the Senate because we are the better chamber. I ask for an aye vote.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative, for following up with us today. And while I certainly appreciate and might agree that we are the better chamber, I might also say that this amendment isn't necessary. We will make it very clear through the policy how we will be able to oversee the remote participation, but thank you for following up on your suggestion. I ask for a no vote on the amendment.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of L1. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The amendment fails. To the bill. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1068. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The bill passes. Thank you. Mr. Schiebel, please read the bill title to HB 26-1027.
House Bill 1027 by Representative Story, also Senator Kolker, concerning boards of cooperative services and in connection therewith, permitting a retiree to work as an executive director of a board of a cooperative services without losing retirement benefits, and clarifying board of cooperative services eligibility for post-secondary and workforce readiness funding.
Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1027 and the House Education Committee report.
To the committee report.
In Education Committee, we applied an amendment to, for clarification. It was brought to us by the Colorado Department of Education for startup funding and sustaining funding, that a local education provider may elect to have some or all of its distribution made directly to a board of cooperative services, to a BOCES. And I urge an aye vote.
Representative Stewart.
We're still on the committee report. I'll wait this one out. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Education Committee report. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The amendment passes, or the committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to share a little bit about this bill. The Board of Cooperative Educational Services, also known as BOCES, are regional organizations that provide vital shared educational services, including special education, teacher training, and professional development to smaller school districts. There are 21 BOCES located throughout Colorado, mostly in rural Colorado. As an example, East Central BOCES comprises 19 school districts that stretch from DIA to Kansas along I-70. Each BOCES governing board is made up of representatives from its member districts, ensuring that the services provided are exactly what those local communities need. Under standard para rules, most retirees are limited to working 110 days per year without a reduction in benefits. Due to critical educator shortages, legislation was passed over the past few years to allow rural districts to hire veteran retirees for more than 110 days without a reduction in para benefits. Currently, this exemption applies to teachers, school bus drivers, cooks, school nurses, and paraprofessionals. Senate Bill 2499 added superintendents and principals to this list of critical shortage retirees, but it did not include BOCES executive directors. House Bill 261027.
Members, it's loud in here, please.
Chill out there. House Bill 261027 supports our BOCES in two specific ways. First, it allows BOCES executive directors to join the list of eligible retired employees who can be hired full-time while maintaining their para benefits. BOCES executive directors serve a number of essential functions, including hiring and supervising BOCES staff, overseeing the BOCES budget and financial record keeping, managing contracts and grants at the local, state, and federal levels, and advocating for BOCES and K-12 education with an emphasis on rural education. This provision ensures that our rural BOCES can attract and retain the experienced leadership they need to keep these regional hubs running. Additionally, HB 261027 would allow BOCES to be eligible for grants through Senate Bill 25315, Post-Secondary and Workforce Readiness Funding Model. This program is designed to fund initiatives like concurrent enrollment classes and industry certifications. Currently, only BOCES that operate their own schools are eligible to apply for these grants. However, most Colorado BOCES do not operate standalone schools. This change ensures that these funds can reach all BOCES, allowing them to support specialized student needs across their entire region. In passing this bill, we can ensure that BOCES have both the leadership and the funding eligibility they need to serve Colorado's students, and this passed out of committee unanimously, 13-0. We urge your support.
Representative Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to reiterate, BOCES is a really integral part of rural education and access to education. They certainly fill in the gap for special education needs. Certainly, I have a hard of hearing deaf child who benefits from BOCES. So not only is this great for K-12 education, it's also really important for the work of concurrent enrollment and a talent reservoir, the work that BOCES does for workplace training, CTE, so career technical education. We urge yes vote. Thank you for your support.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1027 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The bill passes. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of HB 26-1045.
House Bill 1045 by Representatives Clifford and Zokai, also Senator Michelson Janae, concerning housing protections for individuals with disabilities.
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
And it's an honor to serve with you, sir.
Madam Chair, I move the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report, and we do have amendments, and the bill. To the committee report.
To the committee report. Yes, Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we move the committee report, I move Amendment L005 to the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report. And can you display that, Madam Chair?
It is displayed. To the amendment, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is to have a further clarifying statement in the committee report. Lines 1, we changed need to and changed that claim of disability or disability-related needs for. This is just a clarifying amendment. And I request a yes vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Amendment L005, say aye. 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 All those opposed? No. Amendment L005 passes. To the committee report. Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the adoption of the committee report as amended.
Representative Richardson.
Hey, good morning, colleagues. Here we are again in the 2026 session. First,
Do I know what
not our
amendment
first
number
bill,
that
but
is?
to quote from this morning's prayer, we've been here before and we have survived this before. I do have some concerns that weren't alleviated during committee. Don't have an issue with service animals. I don't have an issue with the appropriate use of emotional support animals. But my concern and what I had brought up in committee is the bill takes what was previously federal guidance and brings it into Colorado statute in a manner that includes presumptions, which to a layman can be looked at as you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent of violations of the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act. Again, I don't encourage discrimination either. But CADA brings with it fines that can range from $5,000 to $50,000. And while it's true, and we'll hear from the sponsors, that HUD had rescinded FHEO 2021, the document was not regulatory. It was a clarifying best practice. And from the notice of the withdrawal, it was a threshold, and I'll quote here, it's a threshold matter understanding that this guidance is non-binding and does not create substantive rights. And the original guidance itself, under the title Treatment as a Guidance Document, said, as guidance, this document does not expand or alter housing providers' obligations under the Fair Housing Act or HUD's implementing regulations. Those implementing regulations still exist. This was simply guidance and best practices. After 25 bills that impacted landlord-tenant relations last year, coming right out the gate with a landlord-tenant bill that purports to simply preserve the status quo, but in actuality incorporates best practices into a Colorado statute that attaches penalties, I think we just need to be clear what we heard in committee, which was this was just preserving the federal guidance. So I do offer Amendment L008 to HB, oh, excuse me, I move L008 to the committee report of 10-045 and ask that it be properly displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Truly, it's a fairly short amendment. All it does is specify that this bill imports information that is simply guidance, that it's not, it doesn't create a presumption, it doesn't shift burdens of proof or establish a per se violation, and whether a request is a reasonable accommodation has to be determined based on the facts of the situation of each individual case in accordance with applicable state law. My concern is, as written, this bill makes some things that were guidance actually punishable violations. So I urge a yes vote.
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This was just handed to me literally seconds ago. I'm reading the amendment. I don't see how this helps people with disabilities in any way, and I urge a no vote on this amendment.
Representative Zokai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment is in conflict with current law and current practices and essentially makes it so there are less protections for individuals with disabilities, and we urge a no vote.
Representative Richardson.
During committee, it was stated several times that this is preserving what had once been federal guidance and since been rescinded. That guidance was non-binding. It did not impact, the rescission did not impact any regulations HUD has in place. No protections are lost. If we want to keep that guidance alive in Colorado, this amendment does that as guidance, and it does not prevent any action taken against a true discriminatory practice. I still urge a yes vote on the amendment.
If there is no further discussion on the amendment, seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L008 to the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. The amendment fails. To the committee report. Seeing no further discussion. Okay. The question is before us is to adopt the committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The committee passes. Thank you. To the bill. Representative Zokai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, what we have been seeing from the federal government is a callous disregard for how their actions impact the well-being of everyday people. And that includes something that this bill is addressing, which is the rescission of clear federal housing guidelines. And that rescission has resulted in confusion and instability. Since January 2025, HUD and DOJ have withdrawn multiple guidance documents, particularly those related to disability rights in housing, compounding confusion for tenants and for landlords. This bill is restoring those standards in Colorado law to add that clarity and to avoid unnecessary litigation. I do want to point out that when there are disputes that do result in litigation, there is a stark imbalance between landlords and tenants over who can get counsel and resources to resolve that dispute. And that imbalance falls even harder on individuals with disabilities. This guidance is not creating new rights. We are simply codifying the way that this has been required to work in practice, so that landlords are not left guessing and tenants aren't left making an impossible choice between their housing and their assistance animal, while lengthy administrative or court processes unfold. So we are asking you today to codify these principles into state law and essentially to ensure that the federal government's abandonment of standards is not something that we in Colorado accept.
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Folks, this bill is about making sure that somebody that needs a seeing eye dog to navigate life doesn't have to choose between that site that that dog provides them and housing. And that is something that we've seen starting to happen here. We've actually had people have to surrender their dogs to veterinarians or to shelters because they had to confront whether or not they could have their service animal versus have housing after this guidance has gone away. This is not okay. We must ensure that people that need these animals in order to live the same as you and I do have those protections in state law, and that this is no longer a question here just because of changing rules at the federal level. I urge an aye vote on the bill. I'm sure we will hear about some more amendments.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, as accurately foreseen by the bill sponsor, because actually it's been minutes, at least for the amendments that I took to the bill sponsors. It's been minutes at least, not just mere seconds. And I do understand and commiserate with anything that's kind of last minute. However, and I know that we're at the very beginning of session, so it would seem that there is plenty of time to be able to do things ahead of schedule. That is certainly always going to be my preference, whether it's believed or not. I will always try to do things a little bit ahead of time, especially when a bill sponsor has, to be fair, been very cordial and very good to work with coming to us to talk about the bill, coming to our side to talk about the bill. The least that I feel I can do is to reciprocate that, and I apologize for not being able to do that earlier today. However, just to the bill that, I heard this in committee. We, on this side, all voted no in committee, and my attempts to try to make this just a little bit better are going to manifest here in an amendment that I hope is seen as pretty darn simple, honestly. So, Madam Chair, I move L006 to 1045 and ask it to be properly displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Even with mere seconds, I would think that this would be pretty easily digested just for its brevity, if not outright simplicity. Page 4 of the bill, line 14, we're just asking for strengthening of the language, just remove may and say are, actually remove, strike may be, and just make it are. I believe that the language as written is a little muddy, and we talked about actually trying to clarify confusion, and so this would absolutely allow us to do that. So I would ask for an aye vote on this very simple and straightforward amendment.
AML Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also rise in support of this amendment. It clears up any ambiguity. I think this is a good, simple ask, and it solidifies our stance as we move through this piece of legislation.
Any further discussion? Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I urge a no vote on the amendment.
Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L006 to House Bill 1045. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. The amendment fails. To the bill, Representative Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that very in-depth consideration process for a very simple bill, or a very simple amendment. Unfortunately, I have to tell you, members, that I already knew that that very simple change, that clarifying language in the spirit of trying to make sure that we were reducing confusion, would actually be urged as a no. Why? Because I have some other amendments here, and so basically we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater because we got a little emotional about having some amendments that I couldn't control the timing of. And so I was trying to bring this forward. I was trying to make the bill a little bit better, but instead of individual consideration of something that would be very, very simple, we've instead chosen a path of just saying no about everything. Hey, look, I get it. I know what the math is in this place. I know what everybody out there knows what the math is in this place. You want to know, you're going to get your no, but good, googly moogly, man. Can we just try to do something that's going to benefit the citizens of Colorado? Specifically, I'm worried about unfounded mandates and liability risk for housing providers. I'm worried about regulatory creep and vague standards that actually invite some litigation. I'm worried about potential abuse of emotional support animal claims. Now you're going to have all these little certificate mills running around. You get an animal, you get an animal, you get an animal, you didn't ask for one, you're going to get an animal anyway. Property rights, contract freedom for landlords, compliance costs for small mom and pop owners. Again, you have heard members of this caucus say it before. Unfortunately, I would like it for everybody to be saying it. Colorado is the 6th. If you're tracking at home, that means top 10, not in a good way. 6th most regulated state in the country. Man, we love us some regulations. 45% of those regulations are duplicative. When we are saying at the outset of the introduction of this bill that we're trying to reduce the complexity, we're trying to reduce the fogginess around it, why in the world would we introduce regulatory mandates that actually add complexity, especially for mom and pop landlords? I would like to remove that. I would like the folks out there in Colorado to understand something very clearly. We're here to fight for you. And even if it means that, oh, goodness gracious, you've got 10 minutes to read an amendment, that's an amendment that's trying to make this better for you. This is an amendment that's trying to take into consideration the mom and pop, the rural landlords that could be adversely affected by some just wishy-washy legislation. Madam Chair, I also will bring another amendment, which I'm sure is going to be joyfully received. I move L007 to House Bill 1045 as to be properly displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Very simple. Yes, I understand it's a full page. We read a lot of stuff around here. We're supposed to read a lot of stuff around here. We're expected to read a lot of stuff around here for our constituency. Kind of the job. This is helping to carve out some of the rural landlords to ensure that rural mom and pops are not adversely affected. Now, to be fair, I do, like I had said before, I understand the annoyance with having really a 3-page amendment brought to you very, very quickly. So this has actually been broken up into 3 separate amendments. We'll vote on them joyously, all separately, and I ask for a yes vote on this first one.
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Request a title ruling.
Title ruling has been requested. We'll go into a brief recess. Committee is back in order. L7 does not fit under the title. To the bill. Representative Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, I don't have any real reason to believe that my other two amendments are going to come up smelling like daisies or come up with a end fate any different than that just did. However, this was written. You know what, let me just go ahead and move it, then I can talk about it. Madam Chair, I move L009 to 1045 and ask it to be properly displayed.
Yep. The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I understand the complexity with the series of amendments. And to be fair, a little bit of a domino effect there. However, I want to make sure that it's very clear what our intent is, and it's very clear what we're trying to define. I ask for an aye.
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This too needs a title ruling.
We will go into recess. Committee will come back to order. L009 does not fit into the title. To the bill. Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did not hear this bill in committee, so I have a few questions. Okay, bill sponsor, sorry. So, am I right in understanding that the federal government has had a regulation probably for decades in this space doing this very thing? That regulation has not changed, but that there was a guidance document similar to like the one-page explanation sheets we create when we're trying to persuade each other to vote for a bill that was rescinded, not replaced. It didn't get replaced with something that said something entirely different. It just got rescinded, such that the regulation still exists, but that the guidance document that takes the legalese and makes it available to the general public has been removed. Is that the situation?
Representative Clifford.
Not precisely, yes, but almost. The federal guidance to HUD was rescinded.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for that answer. So it is true that the underlying regulation, that is the enforceable piece of all of this, remains in place. Okay, so I'm getting a no and a yes from the bill sponsors. So that is my question I would like to understand, because if indeed that is the case, then nothing substantively has changed in terms of the rights under the ADA and under the federal regulation. And so by virtue of this bill, all that's being done is we are then applying an additional mechanism for enforcement such that there's another avenue that folks can use in order to have this particular accommodation enforced.
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The answer to your question, Representative, is not at all. So administrative guidance typically carries the same as law under most federal regulations, as you well know. And with the rescindance of this, including other pieces that were not related to this, that has changed the direction of how this is now being managed. We are not adopting or attempting to adopt something that is wildly new here. We are trying to preserve the status quo. Landlords here, large landlords, apartment association, et cetera, they have not come in opposition of this. They don't have an issue with this. This has been long-standing. They too agree that what we're trying to do here is keep everyone out of a lot of new lawsuits. This is now guidance that used to exist that protected both sides in this particular equation, and now it doesn't exist. And this keeps that clarity for all landlords and all people with disabilities in the state of Colorado.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that explanation. But if those underlying regulations still exist, then really what this does is it provides an additional level of enforcement.
Representative Zokai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, the underlying ADA, for example, has not been repealed, but the interpretation of that is no longer there, leaving this vague area of law where landlords and tenants are left without knowing how those regulations are to be interpreted, which could lead to more litigation. So we are taking what was common practice and what was in those guidelines and putting that into state law to add that clarity.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that answer. So then one other part as I'm analyzing this, has the federal government made a statement that they're not planning to reissue guidance such that we feel the need to step in? I assume that this has been a decades-long policy. I understand we can't count on them to do anything. That being said, they may have made some positive statement or some statement that helps to inform that this is going to be absolutely necessary for right now.
Representative Zokai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have not seen any sort of positive statement or affirmation that they intend to reissue these guidelines, which is why we are here today.
Representative Barron.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. That was very impressive. I got to be
Gracias.
honest with you. So, colleagues, I come up here obviously in opposition to this as a landlord myself. I see a lot of unintended consequences of this bill, and going to some some comments said by my colleague from, where you're from? I'm trying to look here. Here we go. Adams, Arapahoe, Cheyenne, El Paso. This is coming off of another session that came up with 25 anti-landlord bills. I see this one as another one. Unintended consequences that I think is going to come on this is that this is actually not going to help in the way that that the bill sponsors want it to help. It might create a situation where landlords are going to raise rent to protect their property. We come in here to rent our properties, but we also have to protect our properties. I see it as affecting mom and pop landlords like myself, not being able to protect our properties. We understand that, you know, animals, no matter what they are, if it's just a pet or if it's a service pet or emotional animal for yourself, is going to do damage to the home. We have to be able to protect our homes, our investments. We already let people come in, and for example, mine, I allow dogs to come in. I allow pets to be in my homes, but I have safeguards. I'm concerned that this might be one of those situations that when we have a security deposit from our tenants, that whatever the damage the pet does to the home is going to be exempt from that security deposit. So if there's a damage that the animal does, we're not going to be able to withhold that security deposit to be able to fix our homes. And another one is that statutes actually create more lawsuits. So the more statutes we create, the more lawsuits are open up to everybody, especially these mom and pop landlords. So I urge a no vote on this bill.
Representative Clifford.
He must have been really tall. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have so many questions for someone as a landlord that is concerned about providing people with disabilities, animals, in the space in their housing. So I would like to know what the unintended consequences of doing that are. And inside the bill, it's very clear that landlords retain all rights as far as damage to their property, all rights with any financial issues that are caused. It just means you can't deny the housing to someone because they have this animal.
Representative Barron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, the thing that I'm trying to say is this might push away landlords from accepting people with animals from renting their properties. I understand we probably have our own rights, but in this bill, I'm afraid that being able to recuperate the damages from an animal is not going to be in our right to be able to do so. That's what I'm afraid of in the unintended consequence of this bill. I don't see anything specifically saying that you can recuperate damages from an animal.
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess to landlords, this is something you've always had to do. This is a very recent change. So I'm not sure about the unintended consequences that can come from providing people with disabilities. To provide somebody that is blind, that needs a dog to see, housing, that's not something new. We're talking about something that's been within the last 3 or 4 months. I don't understand what new consequences are now happening by us making sure that these protections remain. I'm very interested in making sure that people with disabilities have equal access to housing. We're not talking about pets here. We're talking about a dog that wakes somebody up from night terrors if they're a veteran with PTSD. We're talking about making sure that someone can navigate safely. That's an important thing. We're not getting a big pushback from landlords on this, so I am really fascinated by your concern for consequences and happy to listen to those.
Representative Taggart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, sir.
Even though you're associated with that university in Boulder, Colorado.
Go Buffs.
I would just ask the sponsors this one question. If in fact we've had federal guidance for years and that's gone away, and we haven't had a problem from a litigation standpoint with that federal guidance. Why don't we just create a bill that just is an exact parallel, that is just strictly guidance? This seems like a bill in search of a problem, when in fact, we've had the guidance. I fully acknowledge it's gone away. So why don't we just adopt the very same guidance standard that the federal government has done and call it a day?
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative, we make laws here. We don't give guidance. I'm not in the administrative branch. I don't get to write an executive order and say, this is how I interpreted this and this is what you do in the department. Maybe someday I will have that authority. In this place, I have to deal with the problem that they brought to me, and we write law. So I am writing a law that fixes just that. Now, on the other side, to answer your question, we did try to stay well within and right inside of how landlords have been treating this in the state of Colorado from that guidance that existed. We have worked very diligently with stakeholders across the spectrum as far as landlords are concerned to make sure that we did that. And with your statement about this bill being in search of a problem, we have had service animals, very expensive paid service animals that have been put in shelter because they had to choose between having their service animal and this and housing. And that is something that has been brought to us. We just can't allow it to happen. I'm not waiting on the court cases that certainly are going to come out of this in order to do that. And that is also what the landlord community that we've engaged with as stakeholders has also shared. They don't want to be in those situations either. Nobody wants to get sued over this. We certainly don't want situations where people have had to choose between their sight dog and housing. So I'm doing my best to protect us there. I'm shocked and surprised that this isn't something that is also a massive Republican effort. People with disabilities are on both sides of the spectrum, both sides of the aisles here, and they all vote, and we do have to protect people with disabilities here. I want to make sure that Colorado remains the way that it's been being with housing and disability. We've not tried to do something nefarious. We've not tried to add to. We've not tried to redefine. We've not taken amendments that were substantive. This is particularly related to making sure that we keep the status quo here. Thank you.
Representative Richardson. Oh, Taggart.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate what you just said. I did not ask you to take this away from being a bill, but to state that we don't put guidance in bills on a continual basis is just not a true statement. We do it. I'm not trying to get you to stop putting it as a state statute. I just want to use the term guidance as compared to law. We're always going to have an exception to the rule. But we can't create bills on a constant basis for a 1 or 2 or 3 circumstances. We just clog up the system. So I'm fine with it being a state statute so long as it's guidance to both the individual that owns the service animal, and trust me, I've been around a lot of those folks, and to the landlords, we need your help on this. And here's a guideline to do it. And we haven't reinvented the wheel. We've just taken the verbiage from the federal guidelines. Thank you.
Representative Richardson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sometimes it's frustrating when we get up here to debate, when we talk with our colleagues. What we say is in our bill is often not what the bill itself says. And we've heard several times today that this is replacing rescinded federal guidance, and that it's incredibly important that we do so in order to protect those with disabilities. And as I said previously, to me, this isn't, I don't have problem with assistance animals. I don't have a problem with service animals. This, to me, is not about that. It's about being truthful about what we're trying to do. It was said earlier that this was rescission of federal guidance to HUD. That is not what was rescinded. What was rescinded was HUD guidance to landlords. And yes, it's important to have guidance. But that was 13 pages of guidance from HUD. What's put in this bill is a selected 22 lines. So there's already been some cultivation. This isn't just replacing what the feds took away. It's putting very specific things into law that trigger penalties under CADA from what was guidance. The guidance itself, from the original guidance document that was rescinded, stated that it did not alter housing providers' obligations under the Fair Housing Act or HUD's implementing regulations. The Fair Housing Act still exists. HUD's regulations still exist. There is nothing new under the sun that's allowed because the guidance is gone. There's nothing that's been taken away because the guidance is gone. This is essentially the one-pager that goes on top of a bill when we're in committee that gets cast aside after the vote is taken. What's left behind is the bill as it's passed into law. That guidance is not magical. We seem to be looking at the federal government, every move that the federal government has made is somehow with an evil intent, and that is not true. If you look at the documentation that rescinded it, it's part of an overall process to reduce federal regulation, to reduce burdens, while still provide protections. It's something we should be doing in this state that's incredibly overregulated. And now we're importing something into law with penalties where there's already an obligation to follow the law, there's already an obligation to accommodate those with disabilities, and there's penalties attached already if that is not done. This bill is just setting us up and setting housing providers up for more legal risks and more opportunities to get sued. And I understand that the Housing Association or the Apartment Association is okay with where the bill is at. But it was stated in committee when I asked if coordination had been done that regulated industries don't often like anything that comes down the pike, so we really, and I'm paraphrasing here, we don't really talk to them. Well, I totally understand why the Apartment Association would say, I'm okay with this because it doesn't really cause harm, but does it really do any good? Again, we're codifying into law with penalties something that was merely best practice guidance. The law, the federal law still exists, the regulation still exists, nothing has changed. And I don't think this is needed, so I would urge a no vote.
Representative Sukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have a little bit different angle of this on this topic. I believe this law has to do with dueling disabilities. And the reason I say that is I sat in the committee and I asked this question. And the reason that I asked this question was because of what happened to my aide. My aide is extremely allergic to cats. They went to Oklahoma, they went and seen their grandparents. They went and seen their cousins, never went in the house, but then the cousins had some cat hair on their arms, and they woke up the next morning and they had one eye shut. And so if that person also had extreme asthma, that could have been a deadly situation. So why is it that we are picking one side if you're blind, but if you are allergic to the animals, there is no recourse? And this also goes to what the representative from far, far away, Canyon City, said. I believe this is going to cause more lawsuits. So for an example, if you're in an apartment building and the support dog or the dog for comfort, whatever they call that thing, it bites the person, who's in the right, and how is that justified. I believe this is already a law that is in place. I believe that this is also another law created to make the people more confused. And the most importantly thing is I believe that this added new proposed law takes away property rights, and that's why I will be. And I really, be honest, I don't care where the lobbyists sit on it. I don't care if the apartment association is for it or against it, or whatever other lobbying group. I care what I think is best for my people where I live, and this is an infringement on their private property rights, and I'll be a no vote. Thank you.
Representative Kelty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to kind of piggyback off of my colleague, Rep. from Cortez, I fully agree. This type of law fails. Where it fails is in the department of if someone has a disability, which under Colorado ADA law, allergies are a disability. Fear from an animal, a fear of an animal being present, fear of an animal who had been present is a disability. So you're cherry picking disabilities off of someone who has to have an animal, but what about those who don't? What if I, as a property owner, with my rights, with my property that I paid for, that I decide to rent out, I want that property to be animal free. So people with those types of disabilities can rent there. People who want to breathe, basically. You know, the disabilities aren't just fear, aren't just someone who's blind or someone who needs a dog to walk or emotional support. There's so many disabilities out there. I myself have disabilities. So where this bill falls short is the main reason why, honestly, it should probably be either rewritten or taken down. You're putting landowners and homeowners at risk. You're preventing landowners from being able to rent the homes of their own home to people who they want to rent it to. And if that's someone like a nut allergy, someone who cannot be around pets, who is actually dangerous for any type of dander or hair or any of the oils off of a pet, for them to be in contact with, now you're forcing them to rent their home to someone who's going to cause sometimes even up to death to other individuals later on. The fiscal note on this to the state says 0, but this is going to end up costing the homeowners thousands and thousands of dollars in the end, either in lawsuits or in costs to clean up whatever it is that they didn't want to have to clean up to begin with. I'm asking for you guys to vote no on this and either rewrite it or just get rid of it. Thank you.
Representative Bottoms.
Thank you, Chair. I know we've been discussing a lot of stuff here, but I want to kind of cut to the chase on this. The First Amendment that was provided, not the First Amendment, but the First Amendment that was provided, the fact that it was voted against shows us the intent of the origination of this bill. This is not about any kind of personal ADA issues or anything like that, because we're trampling on some ADA issues while supporting others. And the first amendment that was provided said that we could make sure what those disabilities were. That's what the amendment was for. And the fact that it was just pushed aside and rejected shows us this bill is not about disabilities. This bill is not about people with disabilities. Because you can't say, I'm going to take some people's disabilities, but not other people's disabilities, and the only ones I'm going to look at are ones that have animals. This is about private property rights. This building does not like private property rights. They don't want people to not only own, but make their own decisions on their own property. Somebody that owns a house should be able to say yes or no to anything that they want to. It's their house. If they own an apartment, they should be able to say no to anything. This bill is a direct attack on the rights of property owners. We hate property owners in this building. That's why we do this stuff. How dare you own a property? How dare you make your decisions about your property? That makes you somehow hating somebody. except the person that you let rent the space, which you have every right to do. So to say we're going to acknowledge some people's property right, I mean some people's disability and not others, this is a sham of a bill. It should be taken away. It is completely because we want to control. Control, control, control. That's what this building is about. That's what this bill is about, and we must stop this stuff. I vote no as many times as I can.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, my understanding of the impetus for this bill is the rescission of some guidance documents. And I have a copy here of that memo from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development that speaks to the rescission of the guidance documents to which this whole bill revolves. And I think that there's some interesting things in this order that we should, or in this letter memorandum, that we should put on the record here. It makes mention that HUD is undertaking a comprehensive review of its sub-regulatory guidance to reduce unnecessary compliance burdens, enhance the effectiveness of guidance documents, and promote principles underlying the rule of law. By virtue of that particular phrase, sub-regulatory guidance, we can begin to get a clear picture that this is, in and of itself, subsumed under other higher laws and higher authorities. It is not, in and of itself, the authority. In part of the background, it states agencies often issue statements that, unlike rules promulgated pursuant to legislation, do not carry the force of law. These statements include interpretive rules, which advise the public of an agency's interpretation of the statutes and regulations it administers, and general statements of policy, which advise the public about an agency's intended use of its discretionary authority. Interpretive rules and policy statements are collectively known as, quote, guidance documents. Although guidance is a common tool for agencies to advise the public, it can sometimes be used by agencies to attempt to bind the regulated public without adequate accountability. Further on, it says guidance documents are not binding on agencies or regulated parties. This is because guidance documents do not establish legally enforceable responsibilities beyond what is required by the terms of the applicable statutes, regulations, or binding judicial precedent. So again, my underlying set of questions related to, is this necessary to provide a right of action at the state level, because nothing is actually changing in law at the federal level. This memo says that that is actually a true understanding. There is nothing that is being changed that was a legally enforceable responsibility. Therefore, one could argue this is unnecessary. This particular bill is unnecessary and is just providing an additional level of enforcement, an additional burden to the people. Further, in the analysis, it says agencies should not use guidance documents in an attempt to create new rights or obligations that are binding on persons or entities outside of the federal government. Again, just continuing on, it just repeats itself. As a threshold matter, parties understand that guidance is generally non-binding and generally does not create substantive rights. To the extent guidance materials or portions thereof go beyond the relevant statute or regulation, they are unlawful, undermining any reliance interest in retaining that guidance. Lastly, one of the questions I asked is whether or not there was anything to suggest whether the current administration would be issuing additional guidance documents. And it says in this particular memorandum that, in fact, new internal and external guidance will be issued where necessary and appropriate. I will note that the underlying guidance document is likely one that was actually created by the current president in his first administration. And so there could be an argument made that it will be determined to be necessary and appropriate to reissue guidance on this topic, even though it is non-binding. for all intents and purposes, I would suggest that we not add more to our state statutes when the federal law continues to provide this coverage. I don't see us needing to have additional layers of enforceability, additional layers of punishment or fining or what have you under CADA when the ADA is still alive and well and sufficient to cover this. I ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1045? Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I urge an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1045 as amended. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. House Bill 1045 passes. Rise and report. Oh, sorry. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Shebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report as under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bills 1027 as amended, 1045 as amended, and 1068 passed on second reading, ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Smith. Thank you. Thank you. No worries. Members, there are an amendment at the desk. Mr. Shebel, please read the Brooks Amendment, the report of the Committee of the Whole. House Bill 1045.
Representative Brooks moved to amend the part of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Brooks Amendment L6 to House Bill 1045 to show that said amendment passed, that House Bill 1045 is amended passed.
Representative Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I can see that the Brooks Amendment has been properly displayed. So yes, I move that to
Representative, yes,
Yes.
just move the amendment.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. That's what I'm doing. So I move the Brooks Amendment to the Committee of the Whole.
Report. There you go. Please proceed.
Excellent. Very, very simple amendment. Honestly, I cannot express my deep disappointment that this was the baby thrown out with the bathwater. And honestly, what I believe was an emotional overreaction. This does something very, very simple. In the bill, it clarifies language. We heard bill sponsors talk about clarification of language. This simply does that. Line 14 on page 4. A refusal to make reasonable accommodation when such accommodations are necessary to afford the individual with a disability an equal opportunity to use and enjoy housing. It simply changes the squishiness of may be to are. That's all. Very easy, very bipartisan, clarifying language here in the amendment that was shot down because of the way that we apparently went about our business today, fighting for Colorado. So there are other amendments that I am not bringing to the Committee of the Whole, but this one should be brought, and it should be accepted, and it is an absolute travesty if it's not accepted based solely on some sort of emotional overreaction.
Representative Brooks.
Yes, ma'am.
While that is not impugning motives, I would just be cautious in characterizing how other people are feeling. Please proceed.
Fair enough, Madam Speaker. I guess I can only put this through the lens of how I felt and how I felt that this amendment was received, even though that I did try my best to be able to bring it in a timely manner. Whether or not it was brought, I mean, look at the amendment, for crying out loud, man. It's only, the original amendment was like 2 lines long. I understand that I didn't have a whole lot of time to be able to bring this before today. I apologize for that. That doesn't make it a bad amendment. That doesn't make it bad. That doesn't make it something that should be thrown out simply because I didn't play ball the way that, honestly, even I would have liked to have. It's a good amendment. It clarifies. We cannot talk about wanting to clarify language and then throw out the opportunity to do so. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Bottoms.
I agree with Representative Feelings that so when you have maybe in there, that statement is a corruption statement. It allows for corruption. It broadens it so wide that you're guaranteeing that corruption is going to be here, which hurts whom first? It hurts the disability community first, because the more anybody can get on board with anything, then the people that actually need the help, and this is what this amendment does, that it limits to that it is actually necessary, which means it limits the verbiage to those people that actually need the help. They have the disability issues. That when you leave may be in there, that's a red flag in almost any kind of bill, but that's a red flag. Hey, we're just going to throw a bunch of money in here and it can go wherever you want it to go. We're going to throw rules in here, it can go wherever you want it to go. We can throw restrictions in here, it can go wherever you want it to go, or we can just open the door and allow anybody to say anything and claim any kind of status, instead of saying, no, let's actually get to the roots of this and make sure that the people that need the help are actually helped. This bill does the opposite. This bill hurts people with disabilities, and it hurts the property owners. Everybody's hurt by this because you're going to have corruption all over the place, but we have a lot of bills with may be in it instead of are mentality, and so this kind of corruption's got to stop. This is hurting our state. We've got to reclaim truth here. We've got to reclaim this for all Coloradans.
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you.
I rise in opposition to the amendment as proposed. I am possibly overly emotional. I am disturbed that we have sat and debated something that is needed for people that are both Democrat and Republican and unaffiliated. The last I saw, we didn't have differentiations in people with disabilities based on their political ideology, and that's just what we've done today. Thank you.
Representative Brooks.
Madam Speaker, thank you. If you allow me, I would just ask that we please just try to separate the bill debate from this amendment. This amendment, and the reason that I'm bringing it to the Committee of the Whole, is because it had nothing to do with the bill debate. Completely separate. I understand that the original amendment is not displayed, so again, I'll just reiterate, page 4, line 14, it changes one word. Well, to be fair, two. It separates, it removes may be, replaces may be with are. It strengthens the language. It makes it more certain. It makes it less confusing. It clarifies the bar that is required, not might be required. This is not tied to the debate of the bill at all whatsoever. Please let this amendment stand for what it is and not in the broader context of what we just did here on the floor. This is a good amendment. Vote yes.
Representative Kelty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I too am asking for a yes on the amendment. The reason being, as we just heard just now, that we have an amendment that is brought to you, well thought out, with logic, over an ask for a no vote based on emotion. Too many times we come in here and the bills and laws that we pass are based on emotions. I'm asking you to actually accept this amendment because it is based off of just logic. I'm asking for a yes vote. Please think about this.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of Amendment H001 to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Garcia, excused. Mabry, excused. Velasco, excused. Zokai, excused. Please close the machine. With 21 aye, 38 no, and 6 excused, the amendment is lost. The motion before us is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 38 aye, 21 no, and 6 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Members, I just want to offer in reflection, we do show up in these jobs with a level of passion and emotion that no doubt comes out for all of us when we're speaking to legislation in the well. I think we can acknowledge that and speak to both our position on things in constructive ways without focusing on the fact that, yes, we do show up with a commitment. I've seen it from all of us in our efforts to serve the great people of this state. Thank you for hearing me. Announcements and introductions. Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, just a reminder that there will be no finance meeting today. Our next meeting will be Thursday, February 5th, upon adjournment in room 112 to hear one bill, House Bill 1004. See you then.
Thank you. Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today at 1:30 in room 107, House Agriculture, Water, and Natural Resources Committee will meet to hear 2 presentations and 3 sunset reviews. And then in that same room at 4 o'clock, the House Committee on Ethics will meet in room 107 as well. Thank you.
Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to invite the people of this chamber to attend the Governor's and Legislator Bible Study in the morning. That starts at 7:15. We are studying the book of Philippians, and we'd love to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today is Colorado Healthcare Association Day. They were having a breakfast for us from 9 until noon, so there may still be food there. The Colorado Healthcare Association represents providers of nursing home and assisted living facilities in all of our districts, and many of their provider members are here today to meet their lawmakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Richardson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I just wanted to introduce a group of young scholars that are here today from my hometown of Elizabeth. Members of the Creekside Community Co-op School are up in the gallery. I'd just like you to recognize them and thank them for coming out.
Welcome. Thank you. Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. February marks Black History Month, and today I'm going to be introducing you to one of the hidden figures in Black history. Her name is Mary Jackson, and she was a NASA aerospace engineer. Mary Jackson was a pioneering mathematician and an engineer from Hampden, Virginia, where she studied mathematics and physical science at Hampton Institute. Before joining NASA, she began her career as a school teacher, shaping future generations. At the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, NACA, she worked on wind tunnel and flight experiments, analyzing data that advanced aeronautic research, while also mentoring women and encouraging them to pursue careers in science and engineering. After 30 years as an engineer at NASA, Mary became an equal opportunity specialist, dedicating herself to helping women and people of color gain promotions and leadership roles. She retired from NASA in 1985, leaving a lasting legacy of innovation, mentorship, and equity. You guys may have heard of the movie Hidden Figures. She's one of those scientists. So thank her today.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Gilchrist.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Health and Human Services Committee will now be meeting on Wednesday, February 4th at 1:30, no longer on Tuesday, to hear bills HB 1042, HB 1040, and the sunset review of the Colorado Professional Boxing Act. So we'll see you on Wednesday.
Thank you. Representatives Ryden and Slaw.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Slaw and I would like to invite you all. You have this on your desk. This is an invitation to an interfaith prayer breakfast on Wednesday morning at 7:30. We would love to see you. If you have questions about us, please talk to us individually.
Thank you. Representative Wilford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee will meet at 1:30 p.m. to hear House Bills 1038 and House Bills 1049. Please do not be late. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Bottoms.
So I did not sign up. Does that cost me?
Ooh, $1. $1. I'm marking on the sheet. If you're not signed up, I'm marking.
I will give my $1 because I did not
Thank you,
sign
sir.
up. I'm going to be absent tomorrow and the next day. Don't woo. Who wooed? I'm going to be absent tomorrow and the next day. Thank you very much.
So approved. Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will give $1 because today is my son's birthday and I'm delighted that I have got him to this age. So happy birthday, Cole.
Happy birthday. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar until Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026.
The balance of the calendar will be laid over until tomorrow. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until later today.
The House will stand in recess until later today.